Okay.
Hello, everybody at home. Sorry we're a bit late. Good evening. We are just adjusting after a long period doing this from home, and we are giving it a shot in broadcasting from this platform that we use through lockdowns and everything, and all the time that we were at home. Um, so we are giving it a shot on broadcasting from here using the same platform. So if you are watching at home and want to give us some feedback, I'll remind you again towards the end because I know lots of people join in the course of it. So we are going to, we now restarted our studies um, in presential form. So we are a few people here gathered at the Jubilee building. So if you're in Auckland and watching from home, maybe come and join us. So we can enjoy our physical presence that we missed for so long. We had to be separated because for obvious reasons, for safety, and now we are just following protocols, everybody socially distancing, using masks as much as possible, scanning in, checking vaccine passports. So if you are at home and want to join us, we would be happy to see more people coming to the building to do the study with us, so you can participate a little more by talking and engaging with people. But if you are watching from home, you can also write in the comments and participate a little bit remotely. So tonight we're going to do our study group, and as usual, we start with a reading. And I also, sorry, just give a message that next week we're also going to do a study group because we did a lecture in the beginning of the month, so we're just going to do another study group in the end of the month. And from February onwards, the last Wednesday of the month, we do a lecture, so alternating between Portuguese and English. So we're going to start by reading our
Inspiration.
remind me the book again?
Christian
Christian
agenda.
Agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say Daily Bread, no, but that was the old one. Christian Agenda. Entreaties.
Some strange words. I'm not so sure.
Entreaties. That's what it is. Entreaties.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In prayer, you ask for a ray of light, but almost always you forget that you had at your disposal the solar focus point to help you to fulfill the sublime objectives. Your spirit supplicates a glimmer of love, while all around you, humanity awaits the manifestation of your capacity to love. You beg for the concession of favors that enable you to collaborate with the divine wisdom, forgetting that millions of beings are waiting for your willingness to serve, in the name of the Heavenly Father. Your heart demands heavenly signs, and while in the wisest of the wise colors the flowers and the horizons for your eyes to see, you search the vain diversions and notice nothing. You demand justice for your personal affairs and daily complicate situations and problems, without even noticing that supreme harmony always rectifies everything around you through the intermediary of pain and death. You desire opportunities for growth and ascension to higher spirituality, but frequently run away from the various degrees of laborious and humble work offered to you daily, conceded by the one who is infinitely good in the name of mercy. If you are always entreating eternal happiness, yet refusing the resources enabling you to acquire it, what more can you expect? Alright, so Hassan, do you think you can put some music for us?
Yes.
For you, please, if you have it in.
Yeah.
So we now can try to focus our minds, our spirits in the present moment. We're going to try and shake it off our long, sometimes stressful, maybe stressful days, leaving it behind us, trying to be really present in spirit, in our hearts. We ask the friendly spirituality here present today, the noise, to inspire us into participating and observing all the knowledge that we are about to share here tonight. We thank you for your presence, for your inspiration, for your forever guidance. We thank you, God, for the opportunity of being here today, of being here in New Zealand, of being here reunited, studying Spiritism, and trying to spread this message through the country for people who are ready to listen. We thank you, Jesus our brother, for your help and watchful eye through our planet Earth. We thank you for your guidance and protectiveness towards us. We ask your permission to start one more Allan Kardec Spiritist meeting. So be it. So you can tell me. I should have the
Chapter 19, starting a new chapter, item 1. 19.
So we always read first the Gospel. Sorry, chapter.
Yes, 1, item 1.
Start.
There you go. Yes.
Starts at 1. So we always read the Gospel first, and usually we read a little bit and stop for comments. And we usually pass the pen around, but because there's just a few of us today, we'll just give it a try on talking one at a time. And we haven't read in quite a long time, so it's quite nice that we're going to start a new chapter, so we don't have to exactly remember what we talked about
before the break.
Yeah, because the last week has been maybe 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So this new chapter, chapter 19, Faith Moves Mountains. We're going to start with the power of faith. And usually in the Gospel, we ask if anyone would like to read, if we have a volunteer that would like to read. Anyone feel inspired? No pressure.
Okay, I can read, yeah? Yeah, sure. You want to pass to the next?
Oh, I keep forgetting that I have.
Yeah, out of practice.
Yeah,
It's been a long time.
But also, you guys always look for me. I'm always like talking, so I'm paying attention.
That's all right. So the power of faith. When he came to meet the people, a man approached him, fell to his knees at his feet, and said to him, Lord, have mercy on my son, who is insane and suffers much, because he often falls into the fire and often into the water. I presented him to your disciples, but they could not heal him. Jesus answered, saying, Oh, disbelieving and perverse generation, how long will I be with you? How long must I endure you? Bring the child to me. And when Jesus threatened the demon, it came out of the child, who has healed the same instant. Then the disciples came to Jesus in private and said to him, Why could we not expel the demon? Jesus answered, Because of your disbelief. For verily I say to you, if you had faith as a mustard seed, you would say to this mountain, Move from here to there, and it would move, and nothing would be impossible for you. Matthew. Yeah, no, that's okay. We don't need that one. That's fine. 17, 14, 20. Mhm. It is proper acceptation. It is certain that confidence in our own abilities hinders us capable of accomplishing physical things that we would not be able to do if we doubt ourselves. However, here is the only in the moral sense that these words should be understood. The mountains that faith moves are difficulties, resistance, and ill will. In other words, all the things found among humans, even when it concerns the best of things. Everyday prejudice, material interests, selfishness, the blindness of fanaticism, and prideful passions are other such mountains that bar the way to all who are working for humankind's progress. Robust faith provides the perseverance, strength, and resources that enable us to overcome the obstacles in little as well as in big matters. Faith that is faltering provides uncertainty and hesitation, which strengthens the barriers we wish to overcome. This faith does not choose the means to win because it does not believe in the possibility of victory. In another acceptation, faith means the confidence one has in accomplishing something, the certainty of achieving a particular purpose. It provides a kind of lucidity that enables one to see in thought the end which is intended and the means to reach it, in such a way that one who possesses it proceeds, in a manner of speaking, with absolute certainty. In either case, faith enables the accomplishment of great things. Sincere and true faith is always calm. It provides the patience that knows how to wait, because having its point of support in the mind and in the understanding of things, it carries the certainty of arriving at its objective. Hesitant faith senses its own weakness. When it is stimulated by interest, it becomes insensitive and thinks it can supply the strength it lacks by means of force. Calmness in the midst of struggle is always a sign of strength and confidence. Force, on the other hand, is proof of weakness and self-doubt. One must guard against confusing faith with presumptuousness. True faith allies itself with humility. Those who have it put their trust in God more than in themselves, because they know that they are simple instruments of God's will and can do nothing without God. That's why good spirits come to their aid. Presumptuousness is less faith than pride, and pride is always punished sooner or later by disappointment and failures inflicted upon it. Ah, okay.
Sorry,
The
this is the
power.
last one, so
That's all right. The power of faith receives a direct and special application in magnetic action. Through faith, humans act upon the fluid, the universal agent, modifying its qualities and giving it an impulse that is irresistible, so to speak. Thus, those who combine a normally large fluidic power with an ardent faith can solidly bind their will directed towards the good, perform the remarkable phenomena of healing and other phenomena formerly regarded as miracles, but which are nothing more than the consequences of a natural law. That's why Jesus told his apostles, if you could not heal it, was because you did not have faith. So many things in there.
we will start.
Yeah, can you go back maybe a couple of slides? You want one more? And one more.
This one?
I think, yeah, is that one. That part got my attention. I mean, there are many different lessons in there, right? But I think it's when it talks about our confidence that we can achieve something, that that's related to the faith, I think our tendency is to think that we are not going to get it, things are not going to work well. Most times you're going to think about the worst case scenario. We have something to do. Oh, what if it goes wrong? What if I can't? What if it's, I don't have the capacity? What if I'm not able to? Because of our, yeah, many times we do have this tendency. But if we can cultivate and achieve faith, we can start thinking on the other way. We start thinking that we are capable, that's possible, think about the best case scenario, which can be really hard for us. So I think this chapter is talking about, Jesus was talking about the power of faith, that we are not aware yet. Sometimes we can, sometimes we're able to apply that in our lives, but if we really can remember Jesus, if we really can remember God, we'll be more able to apply in different situations in our life. And by having more faith, we can achieve more and we can improve ourselves as well, because it also relates to improving our, not improving, but changing our vices to virtues, which was the other part that was talking about. Um, I think was maybe before, even before that. No, sorry, I don't remember now. No, not that one. Maybe the third one. Now what's after? The one after that? Yeah, so a kind of confidence, force, and so yeah, when the faith is not really strong, also doesn't work. So it needs to be strong. And it's something that we're not gonna change overnight. So it's something that little by little we need to remind ourselves to make this faith stronger in our life and know that everything happens for a reason, know that we have a goal. We have many goals of being here in this incarnation. We have many things to achieve, and we can if we do our part. So just use that power of faith in our daily lives. I think that's it. I can't remember anything else.
Can I make my comment in Portuguese? Is that all right?
Yes.
Sorry.
No problem, that's so good.
Eu me sinto mais confortável fazendo comentários em português. Eu acho interessante a parte que ele coloca que nós somos instrumentos da vontade de Deus, nós somos ferramentas, né, da vontade de Deus. E levando em consideração que Deus é a sabedoria suprema, é o amor supremo, e que Ele sabe todas as coisas, a gente tem que colocar a boa intenção em tudo aquilo que a gente faz. Então, quando você diz que às vezes a gente acha que não vai conseguir fazer isso ou aquilo, a gente tem que pedir a inspiração da boa espiritualidade, né? E saber que as coisas vão acontecer de acordo com a vontade de Deus. E a gente tem que ter fé de que nós somos apenas instrumentos. Então, se a gente tem uma boa intenção em tudo que a gente faz, a gente tem capacidade de fazer. É isso. Acredito.
I'll try to make it English.
Thank you.
But two things caught my attention on this chapter today. The first one is exactly the slide that it is always saying that faith is always calm. And that brings to us that we got the faith within us, and it's not something that is external. It's something that's individually, and you have to believe it inside. And also, when it brings up the capability of everyone with all the energy around and the strength of your faith to heal each other. I think there's more a matter of evolution. Of course, Jesus is the default level of the spirit and could achieve something that no one couldn't. But when he brings up that it's achievable for everyone, if you study it, if you reach your evolution, and then through his whole life and through the gospel, he's showing the way for us to do it. Yeah, there's something that got my attention too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting what, I didn't get your name again, sorry. George said about the truth faith is always calm, because when we um, have faith in something that is bigger than us, that not everything is in our hands, like Rita said, we are calm. We have faith, and we believe that something else is coming. And whatever difficulties or challenges come in our path, they are there for a reason. It's unknown to us. So it's especially for the last 2 years where we had a lot of challenges, health wise, but also political wise, financial struggles sometimes. So it's always soothing to realize that by having this faith, it will help us, it will give us a bit of a strength as well. And so it's always good to have that, and sometimes we forget, because once we realize that, you can reach out to other resources that are available. How many times have we stopped when we are going through struggles and going through difficulties and going through our weaknesses? How many times do we stop and ask our spiritual guides, our spiritual friends, our guardian angels, whatever name you have for yours, to help us? Because if you have faith in God, you have faith that there is some one entity that is helping you, providing you. Not everything is easy for you, but there's some counseling, some advices, some calm, some patience, intuition, yeah, for us to move forward. So just by having that faith, it can actually help us do something about it. Not just having faith and waiting for things to happen. You keep going, you fall, but then what do? You get up and try again a different path, a different way. And also something else that caught my attention is the last part, because which brought back to the first item, which was why the disciples couldn't cure, because they didn't have the faith. And in the number 5, he explains that the power of faith, it's a very direct and special application in the magnetic action, because Spiritism teaches us that there's nothing, like a miracle. It wasn't a miracle that Jesus performed. It was just a matter of, because Jesus being the highest, spirit that came to earth, he had all the faith and he knew what he was doing, in order to use the magnetic action. So when you have faith, when you pray with a lot of faith, when you apply the spiritual treatment or the pass, with a lot of faith, both who are applying and those who are receiving, the effect of that would be much stronger, because has a direct and special application in magnetic action, meaning what? The universal agent, the universal fluid. So you are able to go into that different dimension, a different reality of this spiritual world that can have applications into a physical world as well. So that's why the lack of faith from the disciples, they were not able to perform and use that magnetic action or that universal fluid in the proper and correct way. So those, and thus those who combine a normally large fluidic power with an ardent faith can, by their will direct towards the good, perform remarkable phenomena. So that's, we came back around to go back to the first item explaining why the disciples could not, because they lacked faith. And with faith, we can move mountains, which is not Rangitoto or Mount Eden. It's just our difficulties. Not literally, but our difficulties that can, and our challenges that can feel like the weight of a mountain in our shoulders.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it says in the middle, it says that if you have faith, you can overcome obstacles, right? But barriers. So, and what the barriers are, and it talks about, I don't know, let me see.
Yeah, obstacle, little or bigger, is that part? Robin's faith?
Yeah, the mountains that faith moves.
Perseverance, strength, and resources to enable us to overcome obstacles in little as well as big matters. And especially, oh no, it's on top. So everyday prejudices like prejudices, material interests, selfishness, the blindness of fanaticism, and prideful passions are other such mountains that bar the way to all who are working for humankind's progress. So this is the kind of mountain that Jesus was talking about, right? So, and they feel pretty big when we talk about fanaticism and prideful passions and selfishness. It feels harder than moving a mountain, right? I feel like we have more resources to move mountains today than we do to move this type of thing. So to actually overcome this type of thing, especially when we talk about, we're not talking about one person, we talk about a society or a whole planet. It feels way heavier than the mountain. So I think it's quite a nice comparison that it does with the weight and the size of it. And I like that in right in this part also talks about maybe it's right in the and it says in another acceptation, so in another definition, faith means the confidence we have, confidence one has in accomplishing something. So we say that a lot, like when we're encouraging someone, we say like, "Oh, I have faith in you. You can do it. I know you can do it." You know. So it's much easier to have faith in someone else that the person can do something than it is to have on us, because we know ourselves. We know our faults probably better than our qualities most of the time. So our insecurities are way bigger than we have towards other people most of the time, especially people that we don't know really well. It's quite easy to have faith on them. And probably when we are in a relationship for a long time, doesn't matter if it is romantic relationship or anyone in your family or friend, then it becomes a little harder because you know all the person's flaws and difficulties, and then how come our faith starts to diminish once we start, and once the picture it's not as pretty as we would expect, you know. So we talk a lot about that in our daily lives. We can talk a lot about that in our daily lives, how much people have faith in people that they don't know, just looking how much we trust people on the TV, right? So how the commercials have measurements of how, oh, this person is really trustworthy, you know. Like there's a study that talks to Luciano Huck. It's one of the most trustworthy people in Brazil, according to public, right?
Wow.
So he can go on TV and talks about anything the majority of people will believe in. So it's because he's on TV all the time and he sounds like a nice guy, and you know, so it's, but no one actually knows him. So it's much easier to trust someone or something that you superficially knows than actually have faith on something that you know profoundly. But that knowledge or trust is not actually faith, right? So to be the faith that moves mountains, that has, it needs to have foundation. So we need to, the true faith. And like he says, in one part he says, for us not to get confused with
Presumption.
with presumptuousness. Yeah, presumptuousness.
Not a big word.
So no, it's not being cocky, it's not being arrogant
Arrogant.
that we can do anything, you know. So it means that if I believe, I can actually fly or do whatever I want, you know. So we can't get confused with that. I think the more faith we have, true faith, the more we understand what matters, and to use that for what we actually should be going towards, should be moving towards. So I think when it talks about true faith, faith is understanding what we are believing in. So that's why we talk so much about rationalized faith in Spiritism. It's much easier to believe when you understand.
Yeah.
And understanding brings us this calmness, the foundation to an easier life, mostly, because we understand, we trust that, like I said, that God is in God's hands and things are going to happen the way they should. We believe in that most of the time. So it's much easier because we study and we get prepared for when things are harder. We have a foundation that we can go back to remind us of this calmness, of keep trusting it. So I think this is the early stages of how faith, true faith, must look like, which I don't think is a feeling that we actually have felt here on this stage of our evolution yet. I do believe that there are some people that are owners that have that in a much different degree, but at least for me, I don't think I have that yet in any sense. I don't think I felt that trust in anything yet, but we're trying, right?
We are practicing little by little. Right?
Exactly.
We'll get there. Yeah.
Practice the calmness, I think, also.
Step by step.
Does anyone want to do another comment before we read maybe a little more? Before we move? No?
No, I think it was really well explained and very clear.
Yeah, I think we can, we might do it again and read. It's just one page of this one.
Okay.
Do you want to read it?
Yeah, I can read, no problem. Religious faith, the state of unshakable faith. From the religious point of view, faith is the belief in the particular dogmas that comprise the different religions. All religions have their articles of faith. From this aspect, faith may be either rational or blind. Blind faith examines nothing, accepts both both the false as well as the true without verification, and clashes at every step with evidence and reason. Taken to this extreme, it produces fanaticism. Whenever faith rests upon error, it collapses sooner or later. Faith that is based on the truth is the only kind assured of the future, because it has nothing to fear from the progress of enlightenment. Since whatever is true in obscurity is also true in full light. Every religion claims to be in exclusive possession of the truth. However, to profess blind faith on a point of belief is to confess one's inability to demonstrate that one is right. Continue?
Yeah.
It is commonly stated that faith cannot be prescribed, from which many people declare that it is not their fault if they do not have faith. Of course, faith cannot be prescribed, and what is even more correct is that faith cannot be imposed. No, it cannot be prescribed but only acquired, and no one will be refused to possess it, even amongst those who are most resistant. We are speaking about fundamental spiritual truth and not this or that particular belief. It is not faith that should seek out these individuals, rather, they should seek out faith. And if they sincerely search for it, they will find it. Hence, you can be certain that those who say, we would like nothing better than to believe, but we cannot, say it only with their lips and not with their heart, because by saying it, they are plugging their ears. The proofs, meanwhile, multiply around them. Why do they refuse to see them? On the part of some, it is indifference. For others, the fear of being forced to change their habits. For the majority, their pride refused to acknowledge a higher power because they would have to bow before it. For some individuals, faith almost seems to be innate. A spark is enough to develop it. Such ease in assimilating spiritual truth is an obvious sign of previous progress. For others, on the other hand, spiritual truths are difficult to absorb, a no less evident sign of an unevolved nature. The former have already believed and understood. Upon being born, they bring with them the intuition of what they know. They have accomplished their education. The latter must learn everything. They are yet to accomplish their education, but they will do so, if not in this lifetime, then in another. We must agree that the resistance of these believers often has less to do with them per se than the way in which things are presented to them. Faith requires a foundation, and such foundation is a perfect understanding of what which is to be believed. In order to believe, it is not enough simply to see. It is essential, above all, to understand. Blind faith is no longer appropriate for this century, and it is precisely the dogma of blind faith that produces the great number of disbelievers nowadays, because it wishes to impose itself and require the abdication of two of the most precious prerogatives of human beings, reason and free will. It is mainly against this type of faith that disbelievers rebel, and about which it is true to say that faith cannot be prescribed. By not accepting proof, it leaves a void in the mind that gives room to doubt. Rational faith, that which is based on facts and logic, leaves no darkness in its way. One believes because one is sure, and no one can be sure unless they have understood. That is why rational faith does not collapse, for unshakable faith is the kind that can stand face to face with reason in all human epochs. Spiritism leads to such a result, and it is also triumphs over this belief as long as it does not encounter systematic and self-serving opposition. Wow, another long couple of items. Yeah, I think it's interesting that it's bringing a lot of idea about the religious faith or the blind faith and the rational faith, and many reasons why people might find difficult to embrace that faith and most important to practice that faith, because it's showing us that in order to believe is you must be able to understood, because up to now or up to recently, faith was very much based on fear and guilt. According to our own evolution, there was a step that was necessary for mankind to, in order to believe, to fear something. But now we have to go beyond that, because there's a lot of things that were unknown that caused fear to us, that now we have evolved intellectually so much that we can understand the reason why these things are happening. So that fear and that guilt and that weight that we've been carrying as a civilization and as individuals has been taken out. So we have to go beyond now. In order to reach that faith, we have to be using reason and also understanding. But because there's a lot of connotation related to faith, because of other religions and other what faith has caused to harm to many people in the world. So a lot of people are against it, and if they are now, because this is faith based, so it must be wrong, it must be old fashioned, it must be obsolete. But the spirits come to tell us that faith has to take a new turn, and we need to understand it. And some understand easier, and others understand a little bit harder. As we Spiritism also teaches, we all in a evolutionary path. Some are a little bit ahead, and some people are doing the fourth or fifth lap. Some people are still in the half lap still. So we are all in the same march, but some are
taking the long way.
The shortcuts, and so we're all in different levels of understanding. So that's why some people, they don't require a lot of convincing to be able to understand, and others are a bit easy to understand. But I think I'm talking too much. I think I can pass the opportunity to somebody else. But that's what I got from this.
Maybe we go that way first.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with what you say. But something that also caught my attention right at the beginning, that says the faith is built on truth.
It takes a while to get
Yeah.
the other way, it goes forward really quick.
Yeah, but we're around the second one. But basically saying that faith is built, that the rational faith is built on truth. And
Oh, sorry. The third line Only
Faith that
that
is based on
faith
the
that is
truth
based on the truth is the only kind assured of the future.
Is that it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it is because it has nothing to fear from the progress of white men. And also something about what you're saying on the point of us going in circles and relearning and learning again. Uh, we need, I think that we need to understand that our time frames as incarnation years are different for the time frames of our spirits. Basically, this new alignment and the new way of seeing this, the Christian faith, which was in about 200 and something years, 200 and something years after Jesus was born, there was basically no Christians on earth. And I believe that we're still in a couple of cycles of seeing this new way of seeing the faith. Basically, this part of transition, we can see people that losing and not having a belief. I still see an old way of faith, this judgment and pointing fingers. So it's kind of getting people away from it, but let's show them up and explain.
I would again apologize for não
Don't apologize.
Eu vou até estar sendo repetitiva, mas uma parte que me chamou a atenção foi quando ele disse que a falta de fé não é do incrédulo, a culpa da falta de fé não é do incrédulo, mas da forma como as coisas são apresentadas para ele, né? Porque como seres humanos nós temos a tendência de questionar, né? Então, quanto mais a gente pergunta e naquela nossa fé, né, a gente não encontra resposta, a gente começa a ter aquela fé meio, né, com aquela base meio que balança, ali qualquer vento vai e derruba. E a doutrina espírita, lógico, de acordo com o grau de evolução da gente, a gente vai estudando e vai achando as respostas para aquelas perguntas e essa base, essa fundação, ela se torna sólida. Então, o vento bate e a gente continua firme. E é daí que vem a fé calma, né? Eu tenho calma porque eu tenho certeza, eu tenho as respostas aqui. Então, isso me mantém centrado, isso me mantém sereno. E é isso. Eu acho que é muito como as coisas são apresentadas para a gente. É uma doutrina muito consoladora.
Yeah, I find really interesting how I explained that we all have different levels of faith according to our evolutionary level, and that faith can't be prescribed. That would be really cool to go to the doctor and say, can I have some faith, a few pills I can take every day a little bit, and that would be easier, right? But it's not. It's a very individual work and depends on the foundation, as some of you already mentioned. So we need to base on this foundation every single day, every single opportunity. And it's up to us to evolve this faith or make it stronger according to how we live our lives, right? Every single day. But it's really beautiful when we manage to get a little bit more, because this help us, as you guys say, to be calmer, to believe in ourselves and to go further with our evolution. But we need to work for it. It's not, we can't just go to the doctor and get the prescription, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, it's the way it is.
Yeah, well, maybe unfortunately, because it would be much easier. I think it just would be like he says, or part of the text says, oh, it just would be superficial, would be a passing thing, right? Because it's not internalized. So if you don't believe it, you don't have faith. So if you don't understand, you can't believe it, and if you don't believe it, you don't have the faith, right? So I think it's quite nice that in the bottom of this part also says that, well, every religion claims to be in exclusive possession of the truth. So that is why Amy goes forward talking about, so why we have so many incredulous people right now, and always had, right? Especially the clash between science and religion was always very big because in science opinion, majority of the scientists think faith, it goes against reason. And we are here studying and 100% believing that faith should walk side by side with reason. We shouldn't believe in things that we shouldn't have faith on something we can't understand or something that can be proved wrong. And I think this is something to me that is very, and like I said, it's Spiritism is about, it's very embracing. It's embracing. It's really about comforting people. And to me, it's a big comfort knowing that everything we're studying here is based on science, and then it's written on the books that we read that if we science one day disproves something that we think is true, believe in science. Don't believe in what is written, because this also with time, parts of it will become obsolete, right? So we can't hold the Bible that was written so many years ago and hold that as truth in its ao pé da letra, like you say in Portuguese, literally
Yeah.
think that everything that is written there. So we need to be able to question and interpret and actually take from the book, from the words, from all of that, the meaning, the source of what Jesus believed and tried to teach us, which is love, which is charity. And this is what we need to take out of it, not all the advices on not to work on certain days or not to plant things in the same flower bed, you know. So it's such a waste of time or such a waste of our time when we don't actually use our knowledge to keep questioning things, to keep gaining more knowledge. When we waste our time instead of studying and applying, obviously applying what we studied, but also in seeking more knowledge that we just follow instead of questioning. So I think that's, to me, the biggest difference in between the religion that I decided to embrace and what I look around. It's that it's always pushing me to question, to think, which I think is a big difference. Right. If anyone wants to make a last comment,
Well, maybe the number of the item 8, I'm sorry.
Was it
19.
The number,
What's
This
that?
line, 19
19.
is the last on the right.
Yeah. Or sometimes it takes a while for the thing to move. Don't worry about it.
So next week's gonna be number 8.
14.
How many already?
Yeah, I have it here.
Oh, thank you.
Slide 14, item number 8.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect. All right.
Alright, so now we're gonna read a bit of the Spiritist book.
Mhm.
Which one?
Book 2, chapter 8. So we 2C 8, I believe. Question 413.
Page 14.
Yeah, should be there.
So we are on chapter Emancipation of the Soul.
You were there. Yeah. One more.
Sometimes
Yeah,
it's not
that's the
depressing,
one.
it goes like 3 at a time, you know? Alright, so in the Spiritist book, usually we read a question each and a question and answer each. But if someone doesn't want to read, just skip to the person next to you, is alright.
We have better slides than that, it's quite small.
Yeah,
But, we need to put the right one on
vision
the-
test as well at the same time. We cannot see.
there we go. Maybe I'll start. Visits between the spirits of living persons. The principle of the soul's emancipation during sleep seems to indicate that we live two lives simultaneously, that of the body, involving our life of outward relationships, and that of the soul, involving our life of concealed relationships. Is this precise? In the state of emancipation, the life of the body yields to that of the soul, but properly speaking, there are not two lives. Instead, they are two phases of the same life. People do not live double lives. What do you want to do?
Yep. Can two people who know each other visit each other during sleep?
Sorry.
We have the book as well, if it's too hard to read.
Oh, yeah.
So within,
There.
Yes, and many others who do not think they know each other while awake, meet and converse. Without even suspecting it, you may even have friends in another country. The phenomenon during sleep in which you visit friends, relatives, acquaintances, and individuals who may be useful to you is so frequent that you experience it almost every night.
Do you want to read one or do you want to?
Of what use these nocturnal visits? Of what use are those nocturnal visits if we do not remember them? Thank you so much. Ordinarily, upon awaking, an intuition remains that is almost always the origin of certain ideas which arise spontaneously without your being able to explain them, and which are but the ones grasped during such colloquies.
Yes. All right. I'm sorry, we might stop for a comment on this one. Do you want to kickstart?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to stop for a comment on those three questions.
It's up to you.
Do you want to say anything? Too early?
Again, I will speak in Portuguese.
Perfect.
Quando ele fala que qual é o ponto, né, da gente ter essas visitas, ter essas visitas à noite, a gente não lembra, né, quando a gente acorda. Mas aí a gente sabe que a gente sempre fica com alguma intuição, a gente acorda quantas e quantas vezes, e você já me disse isso, a gente vai dormir pensando em um problema e do nada a gente acorda e tem aquela coisa de, mas eu sei o que é que tem que ser feito, né? E a gente não é muita presunção achar que aquilo fui eu, né? Durante o sono, mas a espiritualidade ela ampara, ela inspira, ela traz muito disso durante o sono. E é uma fonte rica de conhecimento, de inspiração, quando a gente está dormindo. Achei interessante essa parte.
But I think the effect of, especially for us that live overseas away from our family, when they say that we can visit each other, even if we don't remember it, but knowing that it's a high level of love and respect, and that it's very comforting for me, especially.
It's one of my mom's friends. She has a small daughter. She's probably about 10, 11, and then my mom was talking about that, about meeting of dreams, and she said, "But how can we meet Carol if we are always awake when she's asleep?" And I was like, "Oh, she was too fast for you." It's not gonna happen because she's always awake when we're asleep. I think it's good. That idea of meeting people, and incarnated or disincarnated, people that we don't think we know, but we actually have some sort of connection. I think it's so incredible. It's such a nice and, like you said, comforting thought, knowing that we, even asleep, when our body is resting, our spirit is working. And I have that feeling a lot of, like, I go to bed thinking of something, or even not thinking at the moment, but most of the time I wake up and I'm more certain of what I need to do or needs to be done. And I think this is a reminder that we during the day, it's really hard for us to connect with our intuition, with our spiritual guides, and with in the right vibration. Amidst chaos, it's really hard to stop and think and and actually pray or actually vibrate towards a solution. You know, we tend to roll in such a high stress and high energy day that is really hard to connect like that. So hopefully when we fall asleep, we have a bigger chance of connecting, of relaxing, of vibrating on the right level. And that's when we wake up with the solution or with an idea, or just sometimes with the calmness, with the feeling that there's nothing to be done, things will work out, you know. And I think that's a reminder that it is within us to solve it, to sort it, to have the faith and the calmness to sort things out, or to just carry on with our day, with our lives. We need to remember that feeling of when we are asleep or when we just woke up, that we are still calm and still have, you know, it's almost when you are in such a big problem, then you go to sleep and you already wake up thinking of it. You have a split second of calmness when you just wake up and you don't remember the things are happening. So why is that, isn't it? If we are asleep and still thinking of it, and it's quite nice in the first question also that it asks about what is the principle and why it happens. And it talks a bit about the emancipation state, so the state that we are, that is not separated from the body, but we are actually more connected to the spirituality than we are in our daily lives when we are awake. So it's a bigger chance of be surrounded by a better energy or other spirits, especially disincarnated ones, that it's so hard for us to connect when awake. Yeah, I think that's it. Austin?
Yeah, I think it's a reminder that while our body is resting, the spirit is still active. So we don't really stop. And depending on how we live our lives, what we do in our day, we'll keep many times doing what we're doing here. So the things that we are interested, the things that we are thinking during the day, we are going to keep the same vibration, the same feeling. In while we're sleeping, we can learn, we can maybe help, but we can be just still focused in the material things. So it's very important to pay attention, to prepare ourselves before we go to bed, to of course pray, but be in a vibration of yeah, I want my spirits to maybe learn something new and be in good places and use this opportunity of being active, but do something good as well.
Yeah, and just to remember that since we started talking about, you know, the items or the questions on this chapter, which is emancipation of the soul, and the first part was about sleep and dreams, and it reminded us that not everything that we dream we keep, because a lot of the things that we see in our dreams or we are in touch with our spiritual life, sometimes we cannot handle them. They might be too much for us to know, too much information for our hard drive to process, our CPU to process. And the same thing might be a visit. You might get a visit from somebody that you're not ready to remember that. So, but it's always going to be, even if it's on a subconscious or subconscious level, but the information is there. And whenever it's important or is necessary for you to remember that, you will. Yeah. But yeah, it's which is, of course, when we, you know, when we emancipate or when we leave the body during the night or during a sleep, you know, we are attracted to the things that we are thinking of or we are feeling, or you know, so that's one good way to try to have good dreams or to visit good people is to be good and to feel good in the day, so you can attract and go towards that direction when you sleep.
Do you want to read just one more for 16? Because
Yeah.
it's talking about what is said.
Okay. Sure. Let me just open my 416. Can people cause spirit visits at will? For example, can they say upon going to bed, "Tonight I wish to meet in spirit with such and such person, to speak with him or her, and tell him or her about such and such thing"? Here is what actually happens. The person sleeps and the spirit awakens. So when we are awake, our body is awake, our spirit is in a different stage. Yeah. But the spirit is often very far from following what the person resolved while awake, because the life of the person interests the spirit very little when it is set free from matter. This applies to individuals who are already quite evolved, though. The others spend their spirit existence in an entirely different manner. These either give in to their passions or remain inactive altogether. Thus, it may happen that depending on the reason proposed, the spirit may go visit the desired individual, but the mere desire while awake to do so is not its reason for actually doing it. So even for what we want to do while we're awake, is not what we really want to do in our spiritual state. So
Wow.
Yes, I think it connects quite well to the beginning. It says like also, do we live two separate lives? Not really. Is it actually the same one? It's just the spirit behaves quite differently when we are awake and
yeah,
connected here to matter, and when we're actually asleep and the spirit is free, is actually awake.
yeah. You might spend the whole day
Yeah.
on social media doing something and you're thinking about that and you want to do that, but then when you are sleeping, you say, no, I don't want to waste time with that. I want to do something else.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. What do we ask? I think the return the
Oh, that's fine. All right, so we are gonna get ready to do our collective vibration in our final prayer. So,
want some music?
yes, please. Right, so thank you everybody for your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone at home for joining us. We are now gonna have a comfortable seat in our chairs or at home, wherever you are. Sit comfortably and a deep breath. On this inhale, we imagine that all this energy around us is entering our body, entering through our nose is all the peace and calmness of faith we discussed today. Is entering on us the courage to be ourselves, to follow what we believe. Our body is observing strength from those people around us, especially from the desincarnated people that are always surrounding us, of those who try and guide us through this life that we mostly live blindly. When we exhale through the mouth, we let go of all the desperation, of the worry, of the stress of the day. We let go of everything that doesn't do us good. We let go of our pride, of our selfishness, love, forgiveness, forgiveness to ourselves, forgiveness towards others, that we may live here today, exhaling, spreading a little more charity, a little more love and forgiveness towards other people. That we may live here today with our faith a little more established, a little more strong, a little stronger than what we entered here having. We think now of our friends, family, people that we don't know, all people we can think of that are in need of this great energy we generated here tonight, from here or from home, from the material or the spiritual world, that we now all united, vibrating towards the same goal, may send towards those people that are in desperation, in fault, in lack of faith, a little bit of compassion, a little bit of love, a little bit of this great feeling that we feel right now of being embraced, engulfed by a great energy, a greater power that surrounds us. We thank you, God, for tonight, for the study, for the opportunity of being here together. We thank you, spirituality, for your guidance, for your help, for never giving up on us. We ask that you bless those who couldn't be here tonight, who couldn't even join us online for any reason. We ask that this energy be taken to them, that they may be here next week with us, hopefully in person, but if not, also in thought, in spirit. We ask that you bless those who are passing through trials, tribulations at this moment, especially those who are passing through the hardships of COVID, to other countries where so many people are still getting sick, are still disincarnated due to this disease, to this virus. We are so thankful for being here, for being safe, for passing through a little easier trial than a lot of the earth is passing through right now. So we hope that from us, here in New Zealand, we can vibrate and pray and help as much as possible those that are passing through a harder time than we are. We thank you for the opportunity of being here in New Zealand together, studying, talking about spiritism. We thank you for your guidance to get us to be here reunited, and for always bring new spirits, incarnated or disincarnated, to join this meeting and aggregate in this knowledge and in this mission. Thank you, and so be it. Thank you, everyone at home. We can say goodbye now if we didn't